better than anybody else alive. It's so hard for me to sit back here in this studio looking at a guy out here hollering my name. When last year I spent more money on filmmaking and buying from one side of the world to the other than you make. You took the two, the runaway, where diamond rings, where get deal, wheel deal, limousine, jet flying, son of a gun. Flying, son of a gun. And I'm having a hard time holding down this stuff.
Hey yo, it's that time in the show when we like to take a little survey. So is there anybody here that came to see that red hot black and white express? Survey says one more for the good guys.
Welcome to Fantasy Kingdom. I'm your host, Mikey, and as always, riding with me, Shotgun. Howie, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good today.
Right
Got a little rain in the forecast. It's kind of nice out there.
Right on, brother. Happy Saturday. We have a wonderful slate of NFL, and the overseas games start this week.
Yes. The Toys R Us version.
The Toy Story version, which will be really odd. I'm not going to lie. And granted, where we're at, it's hard to see those overseas games because they start so early.
Hey,
Tommy in the house. What's going on, brother? Cletus is in the house. Yo.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be odd watching. And I don't know. Do you watch the Nickelodeon version when they do the Nickelodeon slime games?
I've never seen it.
Okay. It'll be odd that they're doing it with the Toy Story this time. You know. Woo!
Hey.
Scott, what's going on?
I eat a pepper today.
He eats a pepper today because
I have to eat a pepper every day the way I fail.
He failed. Epic fail in his hot pepper challenge.
Oh, my goodness. They're coming closer, though.
Yeah. He does eat a pepper today. It'll be at the end of the show, so you can come back and watch it if you don't want to stay for the whole thing, Scott. It's all good, brother. So let's jump right into this. The week 3 results, the studs and duds. For quarterback, our studs were Tua, who had a banner day as they dropped 70 points. The crazy part is he was the number 1 ranked quarterback, and he didn't even play the whole game.
Right.
They pulled him in the second half. It was nuts.
There's a lot of that going on this weekend.
Yeah, buddy.
Mahomes got pulled.
Mm-hmm.
Tua got pulled. Didn't your guy come out a little bit early?
Yeah, Allen came out early. You know, the matter of fact, the last 2 weeks they pulled Allen early and let Kyle, his buddy, the Allen brother, come in and mop it up. Even though he hasn't thrown a pass yet, he's just handed the ball off the whole time.
Hey, that's all you got to do.
Yep. And
I got to take my licks. You guys whooped our ass on that last week, and
yes, we did.
I give you all your props. We'll get you next time.
Yep, and I'll make sure that I get a picture of you in the Bills hat at next year's draft, so I can post it inside the kingdom.
Hey, we got some picks up here already.
Yeah, we do, and I'll get to those in a second. Let's run through the studs and duds. Herbert and Cousins round out the top 3 studs. Honorable mention: we had Mahomes. Andy Dalton makes the list in his first start, and Lamar Jackson. From a running back standpoint, A-Chain and Mostert lead the way. Matter of fact, all the Dolphins had a day. Then Kenneth Walker III. Then honorable mention was McCaffrey, Zach Moss, and Indy. I hope he enjoys the time because Jonathan Taylor's getting ready to come back, and I don't think they were going to trade him. I really don't. And then James Conner. That was the last honorable mention from the running back standpoint.
He's going to have a tough week this week, though.
Yeah. Wide Wide receivers: Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen. Honorable mention: Hill, Jefferson, and Chase. Chase made the studs for the first time this year. He had a really good game,
He
which
looked
was
good.
awesome. Yeah, he looked like the old Chase. Burrow still doesn't look right, but
No, if Burrow can get him the ball, he's going to catch it.
Yep.
But I worry about Burrow a little bit.
Yep. Tight ends: Laporta leading the way, Kelsey and Kittle with Brown in New England, the third string tight end,
Yeah.
and Parham, 2 catches, 4 yards, and 2 touchdowns is
There you
honorable
go.
mention. Quickly, the duds: Daniel Jones, Burrow, and Fields from a quarterback standpoint, but that was it. Those guys just dudded out. Everyone else had a pretty good week from a quarterback standpoint. Running backs: we had Henry, Khalil Herbert, Bryce Hall, Algier, and Edwards were the dishonorable mentions. Higgins, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith, Ridley, and D Hop were the dishonorable mentions, and then Jawan Johnson, Henry, Waller with Njoku, and Mark Andrews as the dishonorable mentions. So that wraps it up. We have a ton of questions in here, so let's just go ahead and jump on in and see what they got. The Joker comes in and says full PPR pick 2: Moser, A-Chain, Ayuk, Myers, Ford, Madison. I am going Ayuk and either Moser or Jacoby Myers.
I'm gonna go Jacoby Myers and Mostert.
Okay.
That group. Ayuk still healing up a little bit from that shoulder. Ford, I think they're gonna have his number pretty quick. Madison, with no, and a chain. He's great to have behind Mostert, but I don't see him. He's not gonna have a week like he had last week.
Yeah, it's A-Chen.
A-Chen.
It's A-Chen.
Devon.
A-Chen.
Okay. Wow.
Yep. And I would say Ayuk because there's a good chance that Debo doesn't play and Brandon Jennings doesn't play, which means more targets for Kittles and Ayuk.
Yeah.
And then it really goes to Moser or Myers. Myers does get a ton of targets. He gets like 11 targets a game.
Yeah.
But it's like, what upside do you want? Because Moser, if the Bills don't tackle, Moser could have a really big day.
Oh,
if the Bills do tackle, he could have a really so-so day. He's the biggest, question mark of those three. But those are the three I would go with. Ford's okay. Not a fan of Madison at all. I don't like the way they use him, and he was better in that secondary role. And then Achen is how he likes it to be pronounced. He's only had one good week, and he's only really carried the ball one time. That was week 3, and the only reason why he carried the ball is because they were up so big. So,
right.
I would go I'd pick 2 of those 3. Joker, your call. Here's another one. Pick 2: Olave, Addison, Metcalf, Kirk, Cooper, Dell.
Wow.
Pick 2: Stevenson, Connor, White. I would go Stevenson and Connor.
Yes.
And then I would go probably Metcalf and Cooper.
Really
or Metcalf and Olave.
I was going to say Olave is the.
But the problem with Olave is he has Jameis back there now, and Jameis is such a up and down player. You don't know what you're getting.
He had Jameis last year, and he was,
he wasn't what he was earlier this year. Yeah, but he wasn't what he was earlier this season, and that's the question. So,
well, they got Kamara back, so that's going to distract from a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for Olave to have a big game. I think
you go Olave and Metcalf.
Yes.
All right. With Cooper is the other possible option. So go with your gut. So when you look at it, let's see
how's Watson looking?
Well, Watson is questionable.
That's what I'm saying. Because Cooper kind of hangs on that. Who's the backup for Watson?
I have no idea.
See, that's who's going to be thrown to Cooper. So
if Watson doesn't go,
got to give that some thought. And if Watson goes and he's weak,
mm-hmm.
that's going to affect Cooper too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and they play the Ravens, who have a good defense, anyways. You know, Houston,
and they eat the clock up too. The
yeah,
Ravens
Houston's
too.
got the Steelers. I love Tank Dell. I picked him up in my fantasy league. The problem with Tank Dell is, he's boom or bust week to week until he gets a little bit more consistent. I grabbed him and stashed him on my bench, waiting for him to be more consistent down the stretch. But yeah, Addison and Metcalf are probably your two, or Olave and Metcalf are probably your two. Addison's great too, but he plays third fiddle in there in that offense because it's
behind Hockenson and Jefferson.
Yeah. So I would go Olave and Metcalf, Stevenson and Connor.
Now, if one of those two ever get hurt, Addison's going to be great to have on your bench. I think.
Yeah. I agree. All right, pick 2. Ooh, Cletus comes in. Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Rashard White, or Brian Robinson.
Wow.
Honestly, as much as I love Josh Jacobs, until I see him do something, I'm not putting him in my lineup. I would probably go Joe Mixon and Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I like that. Because Tampa Bay is going up against Saints, so that's going to make it a little tougher for White.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, Washington has the Eagles, which has a good D line, but if they learned anything last week, run the freaking ball. Don't put it on your young quarterback.
Yeah.
The Raiders have the Chargers. I mean, that D line, that defense has been pushed around. Yeah. Maybe this is the week he gets back on track.
Might be.
Then Cincinnati has who? The Titans, who have a good D line. You know what? I might roll the dice with Jacobs. I might go Jacobs and Robinson. Because that Cincinnati offense hasn't really looked all that great either.
That's true.
Up to this point.
Yeah, now it depends if they get behind quick.
Yeah.
If Chargers jump out and throw a couple touchdowns, then Jacobs is, if they can get ahead of the Chargers, then he can run the ball. But
you know what? On the safe side, I'd probably go Jacobs and Robinson. Joe Mixon is a toss up 50-50. What Cincinnati team do you get? So I just want to see him eat a Carolina Reaper. He ain't doing that.
If I had a lot of milk and an ambulance standing by, maybe.
Right? Cletus, pick one. Pitts, Ertz, or Hurst?
Ouch.
I'm probably going Ertz.
Ertz against the Niners?
Yeah, I mean, just in general.
Well, Pitts hasn't shown anything. He's like the biggest heartbreaker ever.
Or what's his name? Riddle, the quarterback, hasn't shown any that you can get him the ball. Hayden Hurst is so far down the pecking list in the receivers. Zach Ertz seems like he's one of the top 3.
If you've got to go with the 3, Ertz might be the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, he's the best one of the 3. Kyle Pitts has been the one that got the most noise about him, but has done nothing since he came into the league.
Aaron Jones, a big letdown on Thursday night. 5 carries, not enough. I agree. Yeah. And what the hell were the Detroit Lions doing? They were just putting, they were like burying, Gibbs alive. Okay, we're just gonna give 32 carries and a big difference to freaking Montgomery.
Yeah.
That was they killed fantasy owners with that one.
Yeah.
Late in the game. Oh. Who won this trade? KW and Waddle for Eckler and who's G-Dub?
G-Dub.
I don't know who G-Dub is.
I'm trying to figure out who the hell KW was.
Walker. Kenneth Walker III.
Kenneth Walker and Waddle for Eckler and
Garrett Wilson. G-Dub.
Well, right now Eckler hasn't done anything, but the second half of the season you're going to have him, and he's going to be better than K9. Waddle,
maybe.
Waddle's in an offense where he's going to get a lot more love than G-Dub.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's pretty fair, actually.
Yeah, it's a good trade either way, depending on like whoever had the Eckler end of it. What do they got? Who they got? Because they're not going to get Eckler back till week 6.
Yeah. Well, Eckler is the highest, value of the 4.
Yeah.
I would rank him Eckler, Waddle, Walker, and then Garrett Wilson. The problem with, it depends on what Trevor Siemian looks like. If Garrett Wilson gets a competent quarterback, if Trevor Siemian can come in and run that offense, we just know Zach Wilson can't. Whoever has Eckler and Garrett Wilson wins that trade because Garrett Wilson was destined to be one of the top fantasy receivers this year. He just doesn't have a quarterback that can get him the damn ball.
Right.
Although it's a pretty fair trade because Kenneth Walker and Waddle is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh no, Walker's solid. He's not hurt. He's on a team that's going places. Waddle, of course, has got all that speed, and he's
Tyreek on the other side.
Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and
Tyreek taking the pressure off him. That whatever that trade was, you both got a good deal, I think.
Yep. I think if we have to give the edge, I would give the edge to the person that got Eckler because he is top 2 fantasy running back, and those are hard to find right now.
Right. Oh,
season long.
They're terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Cletus comes in. Pick 2: Olave, Puka-Nacua, or Metcalf. Oh, I'm going Puka-Nacua and Metcalf.
I knew you were going to go Puka.
I love me some, and it's going to be the last week of Puka because Cooper Kupp's supposed to return next week.
Yeah. So
you'll see his targets diminish.
I'm still going to go with Olave and Metcalf.
Whoa, that's surprising. You and Olave?
How would that be? Hey, once you make my team, you're probably one of my favorites. So.
Pick 1: Addison, White, Kittle, or Cooper. Oh, I'm going to. You know what? I'm probably going Kittle this week because if Samuel and Jennings don't play, he's going to have to be part of the passing game.
Right, and Addison's secondary. White's going against New Orleans. Cooper's got Watson, and that's a question.
He's banged up. Yeah.
And Kittle had a nice week last week. He might be coming on, and like you said, with Debo and Jennings out, they're going to have to use it. They're not going to be able to give it to CMC all day. Mm-hmm. They're going to wear him out.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do agree that Cooper's probably the best of the bunch when Watson's healthy, but he's not healthy right now, so I would go with Kittle. Spen comes in and says Montgomery's better than Gibbs. I agree, but you had to give the guy 32 carries when the game was out of reach. You could have shared some love with the backup running back that you spent a top 15 pick on. You dirty horse.
Now, if you guys haven't figured it out already, Mike's got Gibbs on his team.
I did, and I didn't realize Montgomery was playing on Thursday night, and he was in my starting lineup because the last week.
Well, nobody did. I mean, the guy in our league who's got Montgomery didn't start him, and that saved me from a 30-pointer. So that helped.
Ooh, this is a good one from Tommy. Heading to week 4, who's been your biggest fantasy surprises and your biggest fantasy disappointments? So this, surprises, Puka-Nacua. He came out of nowhere and is dominating the fantasy receiver. He stepped right into that Cooper Kupp role really well. I would say I would definitely say him. Biggest disappointments are some of the running backs to me. Yeah. Josh
Jamal
Jacobs
Williams was a big problem. Jacobs. Yep.
The guys that you spend high first-round picks on that. Derrick Henry has done nothing.
Right, so and he's not even injured. I can see the injuries like with Saquon and Eckler, but Henry, there's nothing wrong with him, and he's just not.
Madison had so much hope, and he did nothing. For surprises, Spin comes in and says Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams has been a fantastic surprise.
Yeah, nobody saw him coming. Nobody saw Puka coming. That whole threesome there, even Atwell.
Yeah.
In that group has been a big surprise.
Joey B has the biggest disappointment so far. He hasn't done nothing. He's been part of the duds almost every week.
That's true.
You know. So I like that question though. It's a really good question. All right, so we made it through all the comments so far. Let's jump back over. Look at the key matchups this week. We'll start with the Bills and the Dolphins. What do you got on tap for the Bills Dolphins this week, Howie?
That's going to be a statement game. That they both want this one bad. I think the Bills need it, and if they don't get the win this week, they'll be sitting at 2-2, 2 games back in the division, having lost to 2 division rivals. Mm-hmm. At a tough game for them. Miami comes up here after riding a big wave, and they're going to get some nice weather for football too. I mean, real football weather as opposed to 100 degrees. And that advantage they had down there against Denver was incredible. I mean, Denver, I mean, they got their ass kicked, but the weather had a lot to do with that, I think. So yeah, it's going to be a good game.
That and they quit.
Well, they were wore out. I think they were just wore out, and they said, "Screw it, let's go home. Let's go home and
lick our wounds,
retool or whatever." But I think if Miami stays within themselves and doesn't get a big head after this game, they can give Buffalo some trouble. I think the best thing that could happen to Buffalo is for it to snow.
See, I disagree. I think if you go back and look at the three matchups we played last year, and everyone wants to talk about the playoff matchup where they almost beat them with their third string quarterback. Half our defense was gone when they almost beat us with the third string quarterback. No one talked.
I think you both have solid teams going into this. That's what's that's what's going to be crazy. I want to watch that game, and you watch it. I won't have the channel. I'll have to watch it on Red Zone, which might be just as exciting with those two teams.
Right,
they could dominate Red Zone this weekend.
Yeah, it could be. It's definitely the game of the week this week. From a fantasy standpoint, I don't think from non-fantasy standpoint. Let's talk about the game itself. I don't think it's gonna make or break either season this year.
No,
it will give a leg up to whoever wins, but I don't think it makes or breaks either team early in the season.
If this game were to happen, well, it's going to happen later too because
it's week 18 or 17.
Yeah, it's going to be very important then. Right now, it's just going to give somebody some dominance and some chest thumping.
Yep.
It's not going to make or break either one of them, but if Buffalo wins, okay, it's all squared.
Yeah.
If Miami wins it, okay, Buffalo's got a little tougher road to hoe. But
I disagree, or I do agree completely on that because then it puts them down 0-2 in the division, but everyone wonders, and this is what I wonder: what's that offense going to look like when the weather turns bad? Like right now, it's all timing and rhythm and speed. When it turns bad, what does it look like? So. I think Miami needs the game more because they need to get that 1 seed, so they don't have to go on the road and play in nasty weather.
I agree. They're going to want to stay home for as long as they can. And who wouldn't want to if you got the weather Miami is going to have in the playoffs?
Yep.
You want to be there. Heck, you kind of want to go there.
Yeah.
If you're the visitors.
Yeah. Especially in January. January time, be perfect weather down there. So let's talk about the actual fantasy matchup. When you're looking from a player standpoint, on the Miami, they have their core four. They have Tua, Hill, Waddle, who's returning from concussion, and Mostert. Spin comes in and asks, would you go with Achane or Herbert? I would go with Khalil Herbert because he's guaranteed to touch the ball. Achane's not.
Right.
Like last week was the first time he actually touched the ball, and
Herbert's got a good matchup this week too. Chicago's playing.
Chicago has Denver.
Yeah,
and Chicago.
Now, if you're going on past performance, Chicago should be loving this matchup, but Denver's coming back, pissed off. Humiliated, we're not going to take this shit no more. I mean, that's the attitude you expect them to come back with. If they come back like a whipped dog, Chicago's going to have a good day.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, Spin. It could take him just one to break out and go to the distance. The question is, it's opportunity. How much opportunity is he going to get? Because he's the clear number 2 behind Mostert, who's going to get the majority of the carries. Herbert's RB1. So it's going to be it's come down to opportunity. Who do you think has the opportunity? Who has more opportunity? And if you want to go with the boom or bust, Achane is your guy. If you want more of the lower ceiling but higher floor, Herbert's your guy. It depends on what you need. Do you just need some points because you have a solid team, or do you need the boom guy to win because you have some people down? If you need the boom guy, go with Achane.
And I don't think HN and Mostert are a committee yet.
No, I don't either.
HN got the benefit of that lead, and they just unleashed him.
Yep. And also, no one touched him. Like they quit and they stopped trying to tackle.
Oh yeah, there's that one play they show where there's 6 or 7 Denver bodies laying on the ground and he's scooting through, but the tackling was terrible. I mean, they're diving for his ankles.
They missed 26 tackles
in
that game. So, all right. From the Bill side, you have your normal guys: Josh Allen, Diggs, Davis, James Cook, and then you get into the secondary guys, and this is where I think the Bills have the advantage over the Dolphins. Dolphins have a lot of Ferraris. They don't have a lot of those secondary guys, and that's when you get into the Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid's. What are they going to bring? Then you have the Murray, the thumper. Then you look and you see people like Sherfield, who wasn't in Miami last year, and Hardy, who are specialists. So it'll be interesting. You seen Grandma in the background taking your clothes off.
I saw a shadow and I was like, "What's she doing?"
Yep. Okay. So transitioning out of the Buffalo Miami game, we have the Bucks and Saints. From a fantasy standpoint, what are you looking at for the Bucks and Saints?
Well, let's see. They're in New Orleans. I see a pretty tough game for Tampa Bay. I mean, Evans will probably be productive, but I'm looking at the Saints to do some dirty here. They got Thomas and they got Olave, they got Kamara coming back. They got Hill. Hill's going to be their tight end because Juwan Johnson is just kind of been left behind. I'm looking at the Saints on this one, and even with Winston throwing, if he's having a halfway decent day, I don't see any problem for the Saints in this game.
Okay, hold on. There's 2 comments that just came in. Spin says I need to start the right player because 2 weeks in a row I lost because I didn't start the right player. So Spin, as a Bills fan, do you trust the Bills to be able to stop the run game enough to make them irrelevant? If you don't and you think they're going to run all over us, start A-Chain. If you do think the Bills have a good enough run defense that they'll be able to limit Mostert and HN, then you go with Herbert. So it's done under your comfort on what the Bills defense is going to be able to do. And the second one says, this guy offered me Bijan and Zeke from Mostert and Walker. Should I take it? If you're getting Mostert and Walker, you should take it. Getting Bijan has done nothing so far, and Zeke is irrelevant in New England.
Right. I mean, they're making a big deal of Zeke going, coming against Dallas this weekend, but I don't think that's going to.
He's done nothing in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think just because he's playing Dallas, he's going to get that much better. And Mostert and Walker, that's the keep them. Yeah, I'd keep them. I would not go for Bijan and Zeke. Bijan right now might as well be Pitt.
I mean, Bijan's good, but Cordell Patterson's returning, which is going to cut into his carries.
I don't know that he's returning this week. I think he's still a little bit hurt.
Yeah, but he's getting ready to come back.
But in the future, yeah. And Bijan's got he's going to have Patterson. He's going to have Algiers still there. I mean, he's not scoring a lot, but he's taking carries away from him.
Yeah. You're basically trading Mostert and Walker for Bijan, and that is you have 2 RB1s who have high upside for a name brand rookie. If you're in a keeper or a dynasty league, you make the deal because Bijan down the stretch could be better than both of them. If you're in a redraft,
if he's keeper eligible,
yeah. If you're in a redraft league, then you keep Mostert and Walker.
I like that.
It says depends if you have another solid running back. Yeah. If you have another solid running back, take Bijan. See, I disagree.
Yeah,
everyone loves Bijan. I have yet to see him do really anything.
I'm not very enamored with Bijan right now. He when he takes off, he runs hard. It's great to watch, but they're not using him.
Yeah, I have Pacheco and Akers as his backups. Then Mostert and Walker are your 2 starters. Pacheco is in a timeshare, and Akers has yet to see the field in Minnesota. So, yeah, I would definitely keep Mostert and Walker. That's my opinion. All right, so I need some help. I'm stuck. I have Henry and Connor as my running backs. Do I start Jerome Ford or Gabe Davis full PPR? Henry, I'm hoping breaks out. I have him as well. Do you start Jerome Ford or Gabe Davis? Let's see. The matchups for Jerome Ford is going against the Ravens, and they may not have their quarterback, so it's going to be a much tougher. As much as I don't trust Gabe Davis, I'm probably going Gabe Davis. There, Howie, who you looking at there? You going Jerome Ford,
Well,
or
you
you
just
going
start
Gabe Davis?
just starting the one because he's got Henry and
Yeah,
Connor.
yeah. So it says probably for the flex. Who you going with?
I would go with Davis. Yeah, I would go with Davis for my flex. Connor is the number one back there. He's got a little bit of charge behind him because he had such a good week last week. He's still playing against the Niners though, but I'm not going to run away from the Niners like I did last week. So, I mean, for your running backs, I would start Connors over Ford.
Will you go Henrys and Connors over Ford from a running back standpoint, or would you bench Henry who's done nothing?
I would bench Henry
and go Ford and Connors.
You can hope all you want about Henry, but until he actually engages,
and he's got the Bengals this week, who actually have a pretty good defense.
They do.
I might do that. I might bench Henry and go Connors and Ford, and then Gabe Davis in the flex.
I mean, that's bold to bench someone like Henry.
He got 2 points last week,
right?
And he's being outsnapped by Tajay Spears because they keep getting down, and they have to throw the ball, and he's not a pass catcher.
Yeah.
That might be what I do. And Spence says you start Ford all day long. And if you're going to start Ford, you might as well, 500% you take Ford over Davis. So let me ask you this, Ben. Would you take Davis over Henry this week? That's the question. I think I would go with Chris Johnson.
Yeah, if you got a time machine.
Oh, I know how hard it is. I'm going through it right now. I have Henry too, and I'm looking at possibly benching him. Davis is completely dependent on TD. Okay. Henry has done nothing. His high is 11 points this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I get the argument of what you would bench Henry, but you can't go on what he's done the last few years. You got to go with what he's done.
And he's done nothing this year. He's done nothing this year. Like his high is 11 points.
It's always
5, 11, and 2.
It's always sad when someone who's been a stud for years all of a sudden comes up and it's like, wow, he's not the guy he used to be. Father Time wins all battles. So.
Okay, so I mean, really, it's your call. Ford seems like it's like a safer bet. I don't disagree with Spin. I do believe Davis is dependent on touchdowns, but I just think he scores a lot of touchdowns. He has like 26 in his last three years. It's a lot of touchdowns. So your call. Tommy comes in and says, if you could have one player from the past to add to your fantasy roster, who would you get? I'm talking retired players. I picked Chris Johnson.
I'll take Larry Johnson.
I'm taking Barry Sanders. If I get to choose
if you get to go back there, then I want Walter Payton.
I'm taking Barry Sanders, the best running back ever to live. Like if I get to just choose a retired guy, or go back and take, Michael Vick. That guy was just instant fantasy points. He was all fantasy points, But yeah, I probably, if I had to choose one back then, because Jamal Charles was fantastic. Johnson, Priest Holmes was a monster. Sean Alexander. I mean, there's so many fantasy monsters from back in the day. I mean, Marvin Harrison was one of the best fantasy receivers ever.
Right.
So yeah, Megatron was my issue with Megatron is I traded for him at the end and in the playoffs, and he failed me. So I have a hard time saying.
I know who I want. And yeah. I wanted to make you go ah. Yeah,
Culpepper?
Dante Culpepper
Can suck it. I hate that guy. Side eye comes in, Muppet comes in and says one flex: Kittle, Gabe Davis, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, and Jacoby Myers. Starting Jefferson, Olave, and Laporta. Love your starters.
I think
Love your starters.
I'm not sure Zay Flowers is healthy right now. Saw something on him this morning.
Honestly, I'm either going Kittle or Jacoby Myers here.
And you get to pick one flex, Kittle or
Yep.
Myers.
Yep. And San Francisco has the Cardinals, and the Raiders have the Chargers. Oh, that's a tough one. You know, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I'd go Kittle or Myers. Who would you go?
I'd probably go with Myers since he's going against the Chargers. They've got just such a weak defense that anybody who plays them is going to score a lot of points.
So and Cardinals.
Yeah. I mean, Cardinals played Dallas tough last week. Ask CD. I don't know. I would probably go with Myers if I had my choice. I don't always win, but I am 3-0 in 2 different leagues. So, if you want to follow a winner as opposed to a 1-2 guy.
Oh God, stop it.
and I like Laporta over everybody right now. Besides maybe
Laporta didn't do much this week, on Thursday night. So if you can go back in a time machine, then you start Kittle because you know what Laporta already did.
Right.
Didn't do much. At the end of the day, go with your gut there. It's either Myers or Kittle, in my opinion. I would probably lean Kittle just because they're without the weapons, and Jacoby is the number 2.
He is going to get a lot more attempts.
Yeah, Jacoby's the number 2. He gets 11 attempts a game. So it goes back to what you're looking for. You're looking for the just solid points because Jacoby's going to give you solid points. I think Kittle has the higher ceiling this week. So it's really, do you want the higher floor? Or do you want the higher ceiling? Higher ceiling is Kittle. Higher floor is probably Jacoby. I have Laporta and Kittle as well, and I started Laporta. Spin. He started Laporta too.
When you got a Thursday night game, it's always a crapshoot.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about this last game. We have the Commanders at Eagles. Howie, what do you got on the Commanders Eagles from a fantasy standpoint?
Well, I'm not looking for a win, but the Eagles can be run on. So Brian Robinson's probably your best shot. McLaurin's going to have Slay all over him. So, I mean, if I had to pull someone out of my hat in that game, it might be Jahan Dotson. I know he hasn't gotten a lot this year, but he's gonna be on the other side of the field away from Slay. Boy, I can see the Eagles just running over him. It's gonna be Swift all over again.
If you have DeAndre Swift, this is the week to play him.
Yeah.
I mean, but that D line is no joke. You guys have a solid D line.
I mean, the Buffalo game got away from him quick, but until that point, until they got away from him, it was a tough game. The defensive front was holding them and everything, but it just exploded. I mean, that's why I made the phone call in the third quarter. I said, "Yeah, you guys are kicking our ass, beat them on every level."
It was funny because the third quarter wasn't even a blowout yet. It didn't really get blown out until the fourth quarter started.
Right. I saw it coming. I was thinking, "Oh, this is going to get ugly quick," And,
yep. Sideline Muppet comes in and says, I'm glad I'm not alone. Dan Campbell put Laporta in jail cell. Second half. It wasn't just Laporta. He put Gibbs in there with Laporta. Hey, go stand in the jail cell. I don't think so much Dan Campbell as Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator. I love Dan Campbell, but he's a CEO there. He's not calling who's getting the ball and things like that. He's letting his coordinators do their thing. And it's actually one of the things I love about him. He's a true CEO as a head coach.
Well, they won the game, so they did something right.
Yep. And then on the Eagles side, obviously you have the core guys. Hurts, who hasn't looked like Hurts this year at all. I mean, he had one really good year last year, and he got paid, and he hasn't come back and looked like the Hurts that you saw last year. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out.
He hasn't needed to really be the old Jalen Hurts yet.
No, because that offensive line
he's been able to hand it off and boom, go. Which is what you want. Really from a business standpoint, you don't want him going out and getting hurt or taking very many hits. If he can hand it off and they can have the production they've had, I would dance with who brung you.
Yeah, and DeAndre Swift looks like that superstar he was poised to be that he just never turned out to be in Detroit. They moved him to Philly, and he's just behind that offensive line. He has so much room, and he's so fast.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome. But then you have AJ and Goddard and Smith. They just have all kinds of weapons.
Yeah, and they've always got to be accounted for. That's what's making the running game go for the Eagles is that offensive line. They can't load the box.
That offensive line.
Yeah,
that offensive line is just probably the best in football. Which is why I think if you have a Eagles player, you put him in this week, because I think that offensive line will be able to handle that defensive line, and I think there's going to be play all your Eagles this week. I'd probably go with Brian Robinson and McLaurin and Dotson is who you said, right? As the three that Logan Thomas is going to be back, but I don't know, coming back off a concussion, I don't know what kind of playing time he's going to get.
Right,
I might just ease him in.
The sneaky pick in that group might be Curtis Samuel.
Yeah. JK Alex comes in and says, would you trade away Derrick Henry, James Conner, and Pickens for Kupp and Josh Jacobs in PPR? Ooh, yes. Yes, I would.
If Kupp comes back and he's Kupp from last year, or he's doing fairly well, that's a good one, even though Jacobs is still such a big question mark. Connors is with the Cardinals, and they've got just a very low ceiling on him. Pickens, we'll see what happens, but and Henry hasn't done anything. So if somebody's going to give you Kupp
and Jacobs
out of that group, you're getting Jacobs along with it, but really the gem right there is getting a hold of Kupp, because everybody else there is very benign lately.
Also, remember, Josh Jacobs didn't have a training camp. So the first few weeks was him getting the rust off of him. I think you're going to see a better Josh Jacobs as we move forward. I would probably take that. I would probably do that deal. Henry has shown nothing. And that Tennessee team gets down so quick that I am dreading this is going to how it's go, because I have Henry in my league, that he's not going to be the Henry that we loved, because they're not going to have a lead to use him the way they need to. That's why Tajay Spears is getting the carries. James Conner is the offense for Arizona.
Right.
And Pickens is super talented, but he's dependent on a quarterback who's iffy. So if it was me, I would take Kupp and Jacobs, and I'd roll the dice, because you're rolling the dice with Henry anyways.
Yeah, you're looking at him historically, and you're looking at Josh historically. Last year, Josh was the leading rusher. So he's, I don't know. I think you're getting a good end of the deal there.
Yep. Side eye comes in and says, by the way, I traded Jacoby Myers away for Javonte Williams because I'm so light at RB2. I had Dotson. I have Saquon. Myers deal is finalized October 3rd in my fantasy. That's a good trade.
It's not bad.
Javonte's only going to get stronger as every game, because he's coming back off of the ACL. He will get stronger down the stretch. I like Jacoby, and if you need that extra running back, having Saquon come back is helpful as well.
Right.
Losing Dobbins sucked for a lot of fantasy owners and put them in a scramble mode. I don't hate that trade at all.
No, it's not. It's not a bad trade.
No.
And with the running back situation out there, you should stock up on running backs if you can. Anyone comes available, if you got to put them on the bench, put them on the bench, because right now it's awful slim pickings out there.
Well, yeah, it's you can find a receiver a lot easier than you can find a running back. So
absolutely.
Like, you can find someone to get you what Jacoby Myers was going to get you. And if Javonte hits, that's a big win for you. So, all right. 10-team, 0.5 PPR, Lamar, Madison, Roschon Johnson, Justin Jefferson, Olave, Porta, Zay Flowers, Ravens D, and Matt Gay. Bench, Lawrence, Gabe Davis, Javonte. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I like that you have Tajay Spears too, because I was just talking about Henry, and he seems to be getting majority of the snaps now because they're always in and Saquon on IR. So yeah, I like that. Madison is there's a possibility that Javonte and Saquon, when he comes back, becomes your starting two running backs. And then you have Lamar, those two, with Olave, Laporta, Kittle. That's a good team.
Yeah.
Saquon should be back in about a week or two. And then he goes right into your starting lineup. And Javonte Williams, probably you play the matchup with him and Roschon. Madison, I don't trust at all. He's done nothing.
Then you got Charbonnet and Spears in the background, and they could both come to the forefront. Like K9 gets a little injury, Henry's not doing what he needs to do. Now, second half of the season, you've got two guys that were irrelevant early, all of a sudden are starters.
Yep.
So that's kind of nice. Nice to have in your pocket.
Madison is but I got him for Gus Edwards. The problem with Madison is I don't know how much longer they're going to stick with him because they just traded for Akers.
Yeah.
As soon as the Akers is up to speed, I have a feeling they're going to use him because Madison has not shown anything. He shows he's a better third down back than he is a 3-down back.
They're using, I think his name's Chandler, just as much as they're using Madison.
Yep.
So that's another step back Madison's going to take because they're going to stick with the young guy, eventually. And they're going to go with Akers, then you don't know what you're going to get with Akers. I mean, it's going to be a tough year for Minnesota.
I would agree on that one. But I like what you're doing at this point. I like that team. The team's good. You made some really smart trades with looking at your receiver core. Making the deal from Myers for Javonte was a really smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. Madison does need all the touches to be effective. Spen comes in and says, "Would you go with Watson, Wilson, Purdy, or Stroud?" Man, honestly, from a fantasy standpoint, I'm going with Stroud right now.
I'm not sure if I would go. Let's see. I like Stroud. I just picked him up for my week 5 bye, but I kind of like Purdy. Not that he's a great quarterback, but he's got so many good weapons that just an average week for him is a decent fantasy week. Stroud is like the future, and Purdy is just like a good standard quarterback right now, especially over Watson and Wilson.
Stroud's like a top 10 fantasy quarterback right now. Purdy's nowhere close to that.
Well,
if you're going for points, you're going with Stroud.
Well,
Stroud's better than all three of them from a point standpoint.
I'm saying this week. I think who now?
Oh, Stroud? Is it just this week? Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought he just meant in general.
Well, no, if he's got all four of those. I mean, first of all,
I think he's just asking the question. Who do you like better?
Well, I like Stroud in the long run. But if I'm going with a team this week, I think I'm going with Purdy.
Spin, are you trusting Russell Wilson after 2 years of what you've seen? I don't care if he's playing Chicago or not. I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him.
If you get the old Wilson, hey, that's a great game. But if you get current Wilson, you don't know what you're getting.
Purdy gets
it's not
Arizona.
All his fault.
Yeah, Purdy gets Arizona.
Yeah,
most of it's Wilson's fault. Most of it's his fault.
Yeah,
but Purdy has Arizona, Houston. Houston has a rough one this week. They has the Steelers.
That's what I'm saying.
Stroud's going to struggle there. I would probably go with Purdy if it was just this week. Overall, I'd go Stroud.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Wilson's not bad this year. He's not good this year either. Yeah. Go with who your gut is. Spen, you sound like you want Wilson. Go with him, buddy. If I was choosing, I would probably go with Purdy. The matchup tells you to go with Wilson, but do you trust him? Let's look at the quarterback rankings. The quarterback rankings we have. Let's see, of all those guys, Russell Wilson comes at 13. Purdy comes in at 14. You know, so you can go with either one of them. I don't think you're going to hurt yourself one way or the other. My gut, my gut is that I picked the wrong player.
Flip a coin.
Honestly, play the matchup. If you're going to truly play the matchup, knowing that San Francisco has lost some of their skill guys, and Purdy could have a good day, go with Russ. After getting blown out 70-20,
yeah, he's got all the reason to come back with passion. That's for sure.
And Chicago sucks.
They do.
They're quitting. They're starting to quit on that coach.
Going to be able to run on him,
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit.
Okay. Here's another one. 10 PPRs. Should I start White, Ford, or A-Chain at RB2? I'm going Ford all day long. White, I don't trust yet, and A-Chain is RB2. Ford is going to be is the one of the guys that's have the biggest carries. Also, should I trade Christian Watson, Ingram, and A-Chain for Stevenson, James Cook, and Quentin Williams? Okay, so you must have a defensive player starter in yours. Okay. Christian Watson is just getting back. He's really good.
I've lost you on screen. I'm trying to get back.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. We'll wait. You can still hear me though, right?
Yeah, I can hear everything.
So while you're trying to get back there, would you trade Watson, Ingram, and A-Chain for Stevenson, James Cook, and Quentin Williams? You play defensive players, not defenses in his league.
Would
I probably wouldn't. I think Christian Watson's going to be a stud when he gets back. Like his first game back was last week, and he caught a touchdown in his limited play. I think he's the best of the three. I love James Cook, but he gets 0 touchdowns. He gets no red zone looks. So you're only going to get yardage and catches from him. I don't know from the A-Chain for Quentin Williams. I don't know the defensive piece of what you got. So I don't know. Then pick 3 wide receivers: Chase, AJ Brown, and Goodwin. Wilson, T, JSN. 3. I'm going Chase, AJ, and Goodwin.
Yeah.
Godwin. No. Yep. I'm going Chase, AJ, and Godwin. So for the second question, Howie, would you make this trade?
Let's see.
There's 3 questions in here, so go from.
I know.
Also, should I trade Watson, Ingram, and A-Chain for Stevenson, James Cook, and Quentin Williams?
I don't think so. Watson's going to come back strong. I like Ingram. I've got him on one of my teams, and A-Chain is, he's a good one to have in your pocket. Stevenson hasn't impressed me much. James Cook is basically the number 1 in Buffalo, and then Quentin Williams, that's a defensive guy, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. They play individual players versus all defenses.
Well, wait a minute.
It's called the IDP.
He says the Quentin Williams on the Chargers rookie wide receiver.
That's
Johnson. That's Quentin Johnson. Isn't
Quentin Johnson.
Right.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be their phenom, but they haven't hardly used him at all yet. So unless you're in a keeper league, I wouldn't worry too much about him. I would not trade Watson, Ingram, and A-Chain for Stevenson, Cook, and Johnson.
I like Cook, but he's completely yardage dependent.
Oh, he's kind of buried in that trade. I do not.
Would you take here? Look at his running backs. He has White, Ford, and A-Chain. Do you like Cook better? Because he's losing. So basically, the trade is Watson for Cook, because Ingram is a throw-in, A-Chain's a throw-in. Johnson hasn't done nothing, so it's basically Watson for Stevenson and James Cook. Forget about Williams and forget about A-Chain. They're just toss-ins. Would you go Watson and Ingram for Stevenson and Cook?
No. I would keep Watson and Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah, I would because he's got White, Porter, and
And A-Chain.
Yeah.
Getting Stevenson and Cook gives him
more running backs.
Gives him 4 starting running backs. And
That's
if we
true.
go,
and he's already got Chase, AJ. Maybe I would take that because of the scarcity of running backs.
Yep, that's what I was just thinking. Looking at his wide receivers, I might, I'd probably do it because you're going to play 3 wide receivers anyways. You're going to play Chase, AJ, and T. Higgins, Godwin, or Garrett Wilson. One of those
right.
3
and
as your
Watson
third.
Might slide in as your third.
Yeah,
but he's not going to be. He's not going to.
He's going to be in the rotation. No, he's going to be in the rotation.
Yeah.
This way, you have a larger running back stable. So yes, I would make that deal.
Yeah.
After looking at the rest of your team, so good thing you did send us 3 and 1 because it allowed us to look at the rest of your team.
Yeah.
Because if I wouldn't have seen the third question, I would have said no. Would you go Zay or Hopkins? Oh, I don't like either of them this week.
Hopkins is a little bit hurt. I think I'm
so is Zay.
Questionable. Yeah. If that's all you got,
I'm going Hopkins. He's wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And they still throw him the ball. I mean, he's not doing anything major, but he's still producing points. Zay is hit and miss right now.
If I don't know what the rest of your lineup is, but if you've got anybody, if you can go out on the waiver wire and look for a receiver just this weekend, because both of those guys are either questionable or a little banged up. I think if I had to go with the 2 of them healthy, I would go for Flowers this week.
But they're not healthy.
That's what I'm saying. They're not. Neither one of them. That's why I said look for the waiver wire.
So, if you have to choose,
if you
like
have
Hopkins never practices.
If you have to.
Yeah. Hopkins never practices ever. He hasn't for years now.
Hopkins got all the skills, and they set him out so he is fresh for the game.
Yep.
Boy, it's a tough one either way. It's too bad you don't have anybody on your bench that you can go. Don't have to go with those guys.
Yeah. George comes in and asks, should I drop Fields? My other quarterback is Tua, but I think that if Fields starts to play good, I could trade him. I wouldn't drop Fields yet. Because if they do start to let him run, he'll become the fantasy guy he was last year. He's never going to be a great thrower of the football, but if they let him start scrambling, which is kind of the problem, the offense has said, okay, you're not going to run this year, and until they do that, they'll actually might win some games if they let him run. They just haven't let him. I wouldn't drop him yet. I would hold on to him and wait a couple more weeks before I dropped him. Howie?
Yeah, I'm not real enamored with Fields this year, but unless you have to get rid of him right now, don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, be patient. Don't just make trades because it's like I got to do something. I got to play the game. I got to jump on whatever's hot. But I mean, unless you've got somebody to replace Fields, like say you want to drop Fields and pick up Stroud, okay. But other than that, there's really no reason to drop him unless you've got a hole in your lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he comes in and says, RB1 is Jacobs, and I feel like T. Higgins may be better than Watson. Yeah, I would make the deal. After seeing what your receiver core looked like, I would make the deal. I like it. And then there was a question about Zay Flowers being hurt. I'm trying to look him up. Zay Flowers. Like, he's so far down the list right now because of it. Okay. Looks like he practiced in full at the end of the week. He had he caught 8 of 10 targets for 48 yards last week. So he had 12 in a full PPR league. 12.8, no touchdowns. Yeah. So, I mean, The other two are hurt, so it's him and Mark Andrews as the two receiving targets.
And Mark Andrews has not been getting a lot of love. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not the guy they expected him to be this year that he was like in the last couple of years. They expected him to be basically the number one receiver, and even with these other guys hurt, they're running the ball more.
Yeah,
which is amazing because their running back core is so depleted. You know, basically Jackson is their running back right now.
You know, and if you want to just go based off like a fantasy site, I subscribe to Fantasy Pros, and Zay Flowers is ranked 32. D Hop is ranked 35. So take that with what you will. D Hop is ready to go. He's going to play this week. He's going against Cincinnati. Zay Flowers is going against Cleveland. I like that. I like D Hop's matchup better. Flowers hasn't got a TD yet. Bateman, Odell out. I smell breakout game here. Okay,
you know? that's a gut call.
I mean that Cleveland defense is nasty.
Yeah, that's tough.
Wilson, Purdy, Stroud, Dak, Stafford to start if Watson is out this week. Dak on my bench, rest on waivers. Just this week. If you go by matchup, it's Wilson because he's got Chicago. Although I don't trust him. Dak has New England, not a great. Who is Stafford playing? Who's the Rams playing? Let me see. The Rams are playing the Colts. I might go Stafford against the Colts.
Yeah.
Stafford versus the Colts is probably the best bet. He throws the ball a ton. Purdy, I like him. Stroud doesn't have a great matchup this week. I like him long term. Purdy's got a pretty good matchup against the Cardinals, but I think I like Stafford's matchup better. I would probably go Stafford.
Yeah, no, I like Stafford in this one. Dak, boy, he's not impressive lately. Wilson hit and miss. Purdy, like I said, has a decent matchup. Stroud's got a tougher matchup. Stafford seems to be the easiest pick right there.
Okay. So let's jump into our start. I'm only going to give a few as we had a ton of people in the chat, which is awesome. From a quarterback standpoint, would you go Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson this week? Richardson versus the Rams, Lamar versus Cleveland.
Is Richardson back?
Yes, he's back.
Boy, Richardson and Lamar. Richardson was tough his first until he banged his head.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with him. I like him. He's a tough kid. I mean, he self-reported that concussion. He could have walked off and said, I'm not feeling that good, and stayed in the game. So he's smart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like Richardson.
Okay. Would you go with Zach Moss or James Cook?
Moss is doing pretty good. Cook. I don't want to harp on their coordinator, but it doesn't seem like they use him right. You know, they still have not figured out their offense, Buffalo, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to go with Moss.
And you know why I chose that group? Because Zach Moss was traded last year because we drafted James Cook.
Oh, that would hurt.
You know, I think he fits very well, inside of that Indy offense. He didn't fit in Buffalo's offense. I hope the best for Zach. I like him. I was going to say Tank Dell versus Pittsburgh, Elijah Moore versus Baltimore, or Justin Addison. Or is it Justin? Or Addison? Jordan Addison at Carolina. Who are you going with between those three?
The first one.
Tank Dell versus Pitt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pitt's got the tougher defense. I'm still, I still don't know what to think about Watson. And what was the third one?
Addison. It's more Addison and Dell.
Well, Addison's the number 3 guy. over there. So yeah.
You going Tank?
I'm going with Tank.
Okay. I have 2 tight ends for you. Two different ones. Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid?
Well, every time you start Kincaid, they throw to Knox.
So
I think Kincaid's got the higher upside, but I think they're going to go to Knox.
okay. So you'd start Knox?
Yeah.
All right. So then Zach Ertz at San Francisco, Hayden Hurst versus Minnesota, or Dalton Schultz versus Pittsburgh?
Boy, making me go over these tough defense. The first, I'm going to go with Schultz.
Schultz versus Pitt?
Yeah. I don't like the matchup, but I like it better than the other two.
Kincaid if the Bills use their head. That's a great one.
There's the key word for the Bills is if.
Use their head.
You know,
if the Bills use their head. Yeah.
It's which Bills are going to show up. It's all ifs and buts.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Not wrong.
No.
Okay, so with that ends our start point of the show. Let's get to the wrap up time. So last week X Factor, I won, you lost. Suck it. Yep, you lost the hot pepper challenge again last week. So before you eat it, because it's gonna be the last thing that you do, because I need you to still talk. Who is your X Factor this week?
My X Factor this week is. Oh wait. As Adam Thielen.
Yeah. Okay.
Adam Thielen. Yeah.
All right. I'm going with Puka Nuka this week. A little bit of Puka.
A little bit of Puka and a little Thielen.
Yeah.
Which I noticed they started stealing from me the other day on a lot of the shows. I've been saying
I'm sure they're watching our podcast.
Years.
I'm sure they're watching our podcast, Howie.
They're watching us. They're stealing all our good ideas. So if you see something come up on Good Morning Football, you know where they got it.
Or ESPN or any of those,
ESPN,
right? Yeah.
The insiders, they're all watching us.
All right.
They won't admit to it.
That's hilarious, by the way. Then your hot pepper challenge this week is?
My hot pepper challenge this week is going to be Kirk Cousins. Okay. I'm picking him to throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Nice. And before I have you eat the pepper, any final thoughts on this week's slate of games?
Well, unless you really want to get up early, I don't recommend the Jags game. I don't think it's going to be much of a game. Really, the game of the week is going to be Buffalo Miami. I mean, that's where the hype train's going.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Cardinals can be the Cardinals of last week, that could be a very interesting game if they can put a hit on the Niners. It doesn't mean that the Cardinals are going to be the team of the future, but boy, that's really going to tighten things up. So I'm hoping this is hope beyond hope. I'm hoping the Cardinals and Washington both pull upsets. I think that would really make the NFC interesting.
It would.
I don't see it happening, but I would love to see it happen.
Yeah. We got a question here. It says, I'm interested to see how many snaps Hamlin gets this weekend. It's a good little storyline. Yeah, it is. I'll be interested to see that too, because I have a feeling Hamlin plays more of the Micah Hyde role. And Jordan Poyer is the one that's out. So I have a feeling it's going to be more Taylor Rapp that sees it. But I can see them, bringing in 3 safeties, and okay, we'll see how that plays. I mean, it's a great story.
I want to see the kid come back as much as anybody else. I don't know that he's going to have that big of an impact, but it'd be nice to see him play because anytime a young kid goes down like that, you hate to see his career being over.
Yeah.
So,
all right, it's time. Go ahead and eat your pepper, and then we'll sign out, and we'll see you guys next week.
It's a red jalapeno this week, so God, I don't know what it's going to be like, and I do have water, so bon appetit.
Woo, doggy. All right, everyone. We appreciate you riding with us. Thank you for all the questions. It was wonderful. It makes the show so much better when you guys ask questions rather than me just peppering Howie with questions. So for Howie, I'm Mikey. Thank you for watching Mafia Sports Report and Fantasy Kingdom. We'll see you.
I give it a 7. It's a pretty hot one.
I'll give it a second. Let you see his face.
I'm doing all right.
Doing water. Jalapenos are green. Those red jalapenos.
They ripen to red, but oh boy, that's hot.
Woo, boy. All right. For Howie, I'm Mikey. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Go Bills.